I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come on to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Welcome back to Movie Mingle. I'm Caveman.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we're doing a bonus episode, The Sting from 1973, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. This is a movie that I have seen many times. I saw it as a kid. I saw a lot of Robert Redford movies when I was a kid.
Your mom must have been in love with him.
Yeah, I mean...
As all moms were from our generation.
Dads wanted to be him. Moms wanted to be with him. Yeah. All that whole thing.
No, like, why else would you watch Robert Redford films? I mean, actually, there's a lot of reasons. He's an incredible actor.
He's a great actor.
But, like...
It was this one, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Which I've never seen.
The Natural.
Which I've never seen.
And, see, we gotta change these things.
Well, you started with this one.
Especially Butch Cassidy.
I've seen this one now.
You have,
I
great.
hadn't seen it before.
We did it.
Yesterday morning, I had not seen this movie. Now I've seen this movie, so...
One down, many more Robert Redford
I'm not opposed.
Paul Newman movies to go.
Robert Redford is a fucking smoke show. Young Robert Redford is Bang City. You throw Paul Newman into that, that's Bang City.
Oh man, those blue eyes of Paul Newman's just piercing the screen.
I'll rub that mustache off with my thighs. Yeah, no, half of my notes in this that I wrote down for this movie are just about how fucking hot Paul Newman and Robert Redford are. Like, Jesus, tap dancing Christ, are they just Bang City? I really like Newman's Own cookies. But also, like, I would have liked to have been Newman's Own, so to speak.
Hey.
But there it is.
The Sting was directed by George Roy Hill, who was also the director of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So not only was Paul Newman and Robert Redford, this was their second movie together as this duo that back when Sundance Kid, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid came out, people really enjoyed that pair up. And so when The Sting came out, there was a lot of excitement about seeing another movie with these two actors in it, but also the director of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid came back along with them to do The Sting. Yeah.
I mean, you get a great director, you get two great actors, popular leading men, and a couple of films together. I mean, that's fucking... Tarantino doing Leonardo DiCaprio and it's Brad Pitt in a movie together, right? Like, give me another one of those.
I love seeing actors pair up, especially big ones. And when you get to do a really fun movie where you have multiple, like Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
There's so many Ocean's 11 similarities in this movie. The original and the...
I've never seen the original.
The original's fine.
Yeah, but the remake is flawless.
Oh, remake.
I mean, like that.
Beautiful.
It's a great movie from beginning to end, despite the fact it has Casey Affleck in it. It is a great movie from beginning to end.
When a movie is so fantastic that even Casey Affleck can't ruin it.
Yeah. I would happily watch the shit out of that movie right now, especially because Elliot Gould is in it. Bang City.
All right.
You're going to be hearing a lot of that today.
I don't see it, but...
You don't say
Elliot Gould?
Yeah. A young Elliot Gould.
Oh, a young Elliot Gould, sure.
But even an older, you gotta throw it to, like, you were hot once and you still kind of are. Like, let's go to Bang City.
Okay. Gotta come up with a different word.
Nope. Bang City.
The Sting was written by David S. Ward, who also wrote The Sting 2.
Oh, there's a Sting 2?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I need to immediately find out what happens in it.
It got a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. I want to say he wrote it because I don't think no original characters came back for The Sting 2.
Of course not.
I just want to make sure it wasn't based off characters by David S. Ward because there are no similar characters. It's a whole
new story.
Whole new story, all new actors.
Oh, Terry Garr is in it. We just lost her recently. Rest in peace, Terry Garr.
Terry Garr and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Oliver Reed.
Yeah, I was just going to say I don't really recognize a lot of the other names. Set in 1940, Fargo Gondorf. That's not who... No, that's not the character's name in the
Henry
original one.
Gondorf was the original by Paul Newman.
But...
Is it like a...
Oh, and then Gondorf's young protege, Jake Hooker.
Oh.
So they just used another Gondorf and another Hooker.
They
just changed the
Fear
first
of the
names.
Living... No, they Evil Dead 2'd it.
They Evil Dead 2'd it. But,
except, unlike Evil Dead 2 being better than the original,
yeah.
Sting 2 got a 10% from critics.
Coming up with a boxing con. Oof.
And it wasn't like critics hated it and audiences loved it.
And the bad guy's name is Lonigan again. Lonigan again. God, he really didn't dip too far outside of the...
They could have easily just done like first of all, obviously it didn't need to be done at all.
No, it absolutely did not.
It failed at the box office. I think they were trying to get in on the box office success of the first one.
Well, I mean, it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Score. So
Sting 2 was?
Yeah, or Best Musical Score, excuse me. I don't think original was really a part of that for a while, but still.
He wrote the first Major League movie.
Okay. I've never seen any of the Major League movies.
They're fine. Like, it's a baseball movie. It's Charlie Sheen. That's really all you need to know about it.
Yeah. Like,
I always heard
the first one's good, right?
The first one's good. It's like
Diminishing
second
returns
and third
at that
one.
point.
Yeah. But he didn't write the second or third one, but he's credited because they keep using his characters in those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always remember seeing, before I had even seen it, I remember seeing the Major League poster, or not poster.
VHS box set, or VHS...
the VHS, at like Hollywood Video or Blockbuster.
Yeah, with the baseball on it. And
the baseball with the mohawk and sunglasses. And so it's very, like, eye-catching cover.
Yes.
And then I finally watched it, and I was like, oh, this is what it's about?
We weren't a big sports family growing up. Like, you know, my dad was not a football watcher, which is, I guess I'm grateful for that, because instead we watched old movies and comedies instead. But, you know, football was never on in our home. We didn't watch a lot of baseball. My brothers were into baseball to an extent, but, you know, like Little League and shit like that. But we weren't a big sports family, so we didn't watch a lot of sports movies, right?
Sure.
Like, we didn't watch football movies because we weren't into football. In fact, my dad hates football.
My mom loves football, and I don't know if she grew up liking football,
or if it was something that she got into.
Because her dad died when she was very young, and her brothers could have been in football. I mean, I know her brothers are into football now.
Yeah, I mean.
But they were a pretty poor family growing up, so I don't know how much TV they had playing in the house.
Yeah.
Even for sports. But when I was growing up, the TV was on, and she watched it. My dad, he'd be in the other room.
It's kind of funny how that works, right? Because, yeah, like my dad's second wife really loves football too, and he always used to, you know, moan to me about how, like, he's a football widower. And I was like, well, you know, you married her, so... But it's funny that, like, it's, you know, in our families was the women that were super into football, and it were the men that were just like, I'll be in the shed.
I love sports movies, especially
sports movies are fun.
Comedy,
yeah.
Even serious ones. You know, you've got The Sandlot I grew up on.
Great film.
The Natural with Robert Redford's a baseball movie.
I like The Unnatural, the 6th season X-Files episode with Jesse L. Martin, where an alien just desperately wanted to play baseball, but he had to cover himself to look like an African-American man and play. And it's such a good episode. It's such a good episode. Not only did it start my lifelong Jesse L. Martin obsession, Bang City.
Yeah, Jesse L. Martin is a great actor.
And hot. God damn it, that man even still is just fine. But it's a great episode. I would happily show it to you. It ends in a really sweet way. Mulder and Scully playing on a baseball field. I love that episode.
Anyway, to get away from sports now, because the movie we're talking about
is about sports.
It has a sport
you know what?
in it. You don't see the sport happening, but
it is the one sport that I don't. It's not that I don't mind it. but it's about horse racing, and I've been to the horse races a lot.
We used to go to Santa Anita.
Santa Anita, fucking God, I loved that place.
It was so much fun to walk around the park.
Yeah.
Watch the races, bet on some races.
The
even go out to the stalls and look at the horses.
Look at the horses, talk to the jockeys. Like, that place was pretty awesome. And, like, I know that horse racing isn't the best for the horses, per se, and especially Santa Anita got wrapped up in a couple different things when it came to horse racing. But, like, I don't know. I fucking loved being there. There's something really magical about the time I've spent at Santa Anita.
Horse racing in general has a very prestigious air about it.
It really does.
More than any other betting sport I know of.
Yeah, it could. Well, you know, it's a sport of kings, I think is what I'm trying to say here. It's, you know, it's kind of a big thing, horse racing, for like richer people, because they've got money to have horses, and then they have money to bet on horses. We went to one of the big races there, and saw Zendaya, not Zendaya, the actress, but Zendaya, the horse.
The horse.
When
I remember that horse.
A couple races, which was really awesome. But, yeah, it was one of the bigger derbies. And, man, like, people were dressed to the nines there. There was all sorts of, like, really fancy hats and very strange boots. I remember we spent a lot of the time critiquing the boot, like, to dress combo that most women were wearing, because none of them really matched. But, anyways, those happy memories of a happy day with my bestie.
It works for what we're talking about, because this movie does focus around horse racing, but it also, much bigger picture, is focused around these grifters.
Yes.
Con men. Yeah, the con men. I just love the way this movie unfolds, introduces you to characters.
I have some notes about that.
It starts off a little slow, introducing you to Robert Redford's character.
A little.
And then, but, you know, you got to get to know him. You got to get to know...
Yeah, they do they give you the time that you need to really develop a care for these characters.
Him and Luther, and then Luther's death, and the reason, you know, some motivation to go after this, the Mark.
Yeah, who himself is a like a mobster, right?
Yeah, he's a mobster.
Yeah, he tries to be legitimate, but he's a mobster.
Yeah, he deals with. I mean, I think he's got his hand in everything.
Yeah. The way that mobsters did back in the 30s when this movie was set, right? Yeah, 1936.
But essentially, this mobster kills Luther over 11 grand.
Well, to be fair, Luther and Hooker steal 11 grand from this guy.
But he kills Luther over 11 grand.
Yeah, well, back in 1936, 11 grand was a lot of fucking... I mean, 11 grand is still a lot of fucking money right now. Like, that's 6 months of our rent.
Back in the Depression.
Yeah, that was a fuck ton of money.
Like he said, he even says it when they notice how much money they have. We're millionaires, Luther. And, you know, he immediately goes and blows the whole thing.
God, Hooker's an idiot.
He gambles away $6 grand. $3 grand?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you do why wouldn't you do $1,000 of it? Why all of it all at once? And, like, that table was rigged, right?
Yeah, it was, yes.
So, like, why would you walk into... Anyways, you know what?
And even the guy at the table was, like, trying to, like,
be like,
you don't want to do
are
this.
Are you fucking sure? Like,
read my eyes.
Yeah. Like,
don't do this.
Dude.
And then, yeah.
This movie is a little slow going for me. It's 2 hours and 7 minutes. 2 hours and 9 minutes. It feels a lot longer. But there are moments, like the moments when things are happening, when everybody's talking, when the cons, you know, when different parts of the con are unfolding.
Yeah.
Even when Kid Twist is like setting up the sports hall that they're building.
Yeah.
He's a ton of fun.
He's the money.
Yeah.
He's the money guy that's setting it all up. Kind of like Elliot Gould's character.
Yeah. Ton of fun. Like, this movie is a lot of fun. This movie is also a lot of long, steady shots of people walking from a great distance away closer to you. Or a car driving fully around a set with all of the background actors having to do things in perfect timing, which is a lot of choreography.
It's so cool to watch unfold.
It is.
I love this. That's why I love this movie.
But there's a lot of stuff they could have just cut down real, like, there's some editing issues, I guess.
There's
you
some
could
long
say.
takes.
There's
and the
some
long takes are
long
neat.
takes. Are they
Yes.
necessary, though? The other thing I found really weird about this movie is that even though people talk about a soundtrack, there's no real soundtrack to this movie.
There isn't.
Like,
No,
sure,
it's-
some songs play, and
some-
it's ragtime songs, which are turn of the century songs, when the movie itself is set in the Depression.
There's
so,
no
like,
original music being
40
played
years
by an
later.
orchestra.
Yeah. But, like, there's...
And the entertainer is being played throughout most of the movie.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of, like, old ragtime songs, just during, like in-between clips, I guess, if you will. When Robert Redford is walking through that carousel from beginning to end, literally walking into a door, and you see him walk all the way around this carousel out through another door on the opposite side of it. There's no sound. There's no music. You just get echoey footsteps and, like, weird, the ambient sound of everything. And that's a little bizarre. It's like, you could have cut this in half and still gotten the point across. And also, why isn't there just a soundtrack? Like, I don't know. Like, I realize this movie was made in 1973, or came out in 1973, but there are some choices that, as a modern film fan, I don't necessarily agree with. But who am I, Maggie of Movie Mingle Podcast, to say, because this film is beloved by every fucking buddy. So.
Well, and let's
And I'm not saying it's a bad movie either. I want to get that out there in Front Street. I did enjoy the hell out of this film. I'm just like, dude, sound design. What up with that?
The sound design could have used to work, especially the dialogue.
Oh, yeah, the dialogue was...
There's a lot of ADR. There's a lot of changes in volume. Mm-hmm. There was background noise, and then the background noise would go away.
You know what part was really distracting for me? When Paul Newman was sopping wet in that tub, which, hell, mama like, you could hear all of the dripping from his clothes, like the water drip, drip, dripping, and almost like streaming out of his clothes down the drain, and it was louder than the conversation that they were having. And I was just like obsessed with the sound of the water coming off of his clothes and being like, why is this mic'd up? Why is this necessary? Who was the sound foley guy who's like pouring water from one big bucket to another, just being like, fuck, this doesn't even, like, I don't know. It was a choice.
The cinematographer for the movie was Robert Sturdies. He's worked on, or had worked on, 73 projects, including Ben-Hur.
Her? Ben?
Ben?
Her?
Her? I still have not seen Ben-Hur.
I saw it in, like, history class in the 6th grade. And that was also where I saw Spartacus. So I kind of think of those two movies as the same.
Both of those movies I have not seen.
Yeah. And I'm not sitting over here like, you need to see them. Pound, pound, pound. You need to see it. Brr.
I know, but I always want to watch, like, the classics that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I'd like to watch, if I had the time, I would watch everything. But I don't have that time.
No,
So I have
God,
to be a little
especially
more,
these days.
gotta be a little more picky with what I get to watch. And
You should just see us trying to plan out our, like, non-movie mingle binges. It's...
yeah, because we do like to watch other things that aren't on this list and
Yeah.
won't make it on the podcast, but we still want to watch.
Yeah, but there are, like, countless
TV
movies
shows.
that were like, oh, we want to watch this. And then we're just like, well, we can't fit it in around the podcast, the TV shows that are airing.
There's so many TV shows I haven't seen
Yeah.
that I probably won't ever be able to.
Yeah.
He also worked on The Graduate with
Which I've never seen. Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman.
Took me a
Oh,
second,
boy.
too. I could
could
see
see
the
his
movie
face.
poster.
And the movie, yeah, of
And I
course.
was just like,
And The Last Picture Show, which is another movie I've always wanted to see but haven't.
I've never seen it. You know, it's funny, for growing up with a man who loved movies and having watched a lot of movies with him growing up, there are a lot of, like, the big classics that I've never seen, either because I would, like, walk in and be like, oh, what's Dad watching? The Sting? Yeah, I'm just going to go sit on the computer in my bedroom. Or my dad really loved Westerns, and he really loved comedies. So he kind of focused on those. There weren't a lot of, like, classic dramas. I mean, I watched Lawrence of Olivier for the first time as a teenager, right? Lawrence of
Lawrence of Olivier.
Wow. And to think, folks, I'm stone sober.
Stone sober.
I've seen Lawrence of Arabia, but I only watched that because I was obsessed with The Mummy as a teenager, and I knew that The Mummy was heavily influenced on Lawrence of Arabia, and my mom was like, it's a great film, you should watch it. And so I watched it because of The Mummy.
Talk about a long movie.
Yeah, dude. But Omar Sharif, Bang City.
Oh, boy.
Population, Omar Sharif, and me.
The Sting is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. No big surprise there.
No.
93% from critics and a 95% from audiences.
Yep.
It was made for only $5.5 million.
Well, yeah,
which,
but back in 72, 73.
If you adjust for inflation, that's $41 million today.
Still,
which is still pretty low.
That's a small budget.
That's a pretty small budget.
These days, it would have a bigger budget just because of the cast alone. But also, I mean, having to source... One of the nice things about this movie is that they had to source very little, like, on-location shots. They did a little bit of filming in Chicago. They did a little bit of filming in Santa Monica, mainly with the carousel. But the rest of the film is on backlots. You know, and then when it came to, like, costumes and cars and things, I think they were a little bit more readily available in the 70s than they would be now. But, yeah, like, you know, it's not a big budget film, and it doesn't need to be.
No, it really doesn't need to be, because it's all very much just sets and people. And...
I did write down that the set design and the matte paintings are stunning in this film. Like, some of the matte paintings of, like, the larger, you know, city behind, and you can just kind of tell it's a matte painting, and it looks so good. You're just like, oh, that's really cool.
So it made $160 million domestically.
Yeah, that's about
on a $5.5 million budget.
And this was back in the 70s.
This is $160 million 70s rate.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Like, it actually made $160 million.
$160 million in those days' times.
Well, they did. I was reading that it was, like, the biggest film of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it won an Oscar. It
won
many
7.
Oscars. Yeah, well, we'll get into that. The movie was released in theaters December 25th, 1973. So right at Christmas time. And, of course, Oscar contenders, or movies that they believe are Oscar contenders, always come out within, like, the last 3 months of the year, fresh in all the voters' brains before they vote. So it came out in 1973. It didn't come out on video because, obviously, home media was not a thing in the 70s. So it wasn't until 1992 that it got its VHS release.
Damn. I had always seen, and I might have even seen it in our own home VHS collection, but I've always seen the like the VHS box, you know, like the Sting, right, and the old sort of like Saturday Evening Post type drawings of the crew and the horses and all that. Yeah.
The version I have, which unfortunately I do not have the... So when we watched this, it wasn't streaming anywhere.
No.
So I had a DVD copy of it, and all my DVDs are now in a 400 disc binder.
Yeah.
Just save on room. Unfortunately, the cover for this DVD version, this is like the deluxe version of the Sting that I have. It came with things, and I forgot about it, and then that it came with things, and it just got put into storage along with other.
We inevitably got rid of it. What did it come with?
It came with a booklet that had those drawings in it.
Yeah.
The cover was had that alligator skin look to it, like the wallet that they steal from Shaw. Mm-hmm. It was a really nice set. It was a 2-disc set. A lot of special features. So at least I still have that. I have the special features and everything, but unfortunately all the physical stuff that came with it.
Right now on Amazon, I'm looking at the 4K Ultra HD plus Blu-ray plus digital version of this movie, and it comes itself with a book and like things. But like, I get it. Like, you know, back when DVDs would have fun stuff in them, they would have special bonus features. First of all, fucking where did bonus features go on DVDs? Like, I want to watch the making of stuff, Hollywood. Like, I want to watch it. Give it to me. Give me the gag reels. And I don't want the gag reels to be 4 minutes long. I want it to be 20 minutes long. I want to see every deleted scene. I want to see all the behind the scenes interviews and shit like that. Like, where is that stuff anymore? But it also came with like booklets and posters and drawings and stickers and patches and
Or
just fun
like
shit.
things came with it, kind of
Yeah.
like when we bought the Transformers
the
disc,
Transformers
the
disc.
DVD case turned into Optimus Prime
Yeah.
robot, like actually transformed.
The coolest one we have is the Enterprise
Yeah.
that I'm looking at right now. It came out with the J.J. Abrams.
The J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
It was a Target exclusive, and the case is the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And you lift up the disc
saucer,
part.
the saucer section
Yeah,
splits apart to reveal the
fucking movies.
movies inside.
That's so goddamn cool.
Yeah. I remember being in the Target parking lot as we we ripped open the package
Yeah, we
and we
unboxed it.
assembled the Enterprise in the car.
Yeah, and it's sitting right there, and we've had it since that movie came out. We've had it forever.
Well, yeah, and I don't even bother with that one. That one's for
no.
looks now because I have Star Trek on Blu-ray now.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was also it wasn't the best packaging for a DVD.
Yeah, it
because
does not keep the DVDs super safe. No.
But fuck, it looks cool.
But The Sting won 18 awards, including 7 Oscars. You know, we were talking about some of the stuff that we agreed with or we were liking and disliking. You were saying that you really liked the art direction and or the set decoration, the way the sets looked. It won an Oscar for that.
Oh, good, because fuck, it looked great.
It also won for Best Editing and Best Score, which I'm not sure.
I think back then it wasn't necessarily original score, it was just overall score.
Overall, the music, but they don't use a lot of, like you said, it's a lot of ragtime, a lot of the entertainer constantly playing.
Yeah, and then just a lot of weird sound design.
But it still won for Best Score.
I mean, it made ragtime music briefly popular back in the 70s.
It was nominated for for Best Cinematography, and Robert Redford was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role.
Which was the last time, or the only time he ever got a Oscar nomination for leading actor in something.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
And I think that his other Oscars are all like directed by and like produced by Oscars.
It was a tough year for him, though. I mean, it wasn't easy. He was up against a lot of talented actors that year. He lost to Jack Lemmon, who won for Save the Tiger. Other nominees were Marlon Brando in The Last Tango in Paris.
No, I thought he did win.
Robert Redford?
Yeah.
No, Jack Lemmon won.
Oh.
Marlon Brando for The Last Tango in Paris. Jack Nicholson in The Last Detail. And Al Pacino in Serpico.
Oh.
So it was a big year for...
I've heard of some of those movies.
The 7 Oscars that The Sting won were for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
It also won for Best Editing, Best Original Score, Costume Design,
Yeah.
Art Direction, Writing, and the director got an Oscar as well. The other nominees for Best Picture that year were American Graffiti, Cries and Whispers, The Exorcist,
Wow.
A Touch of Class, with George Siegel, who played in Just Shoot Me and the Goldbergs. And I believe that was the first and last time a horror film was nominated for Best Picture.
This city felt, I mean, it's Chicago, but it felt like Chicago, right? There was never any point where the back lots felt like a movie backlot. Right?
Yeah.
It was set so well. Everything was so beautifully rich and lived in.
Lived in,
which
for
I
sure.
really liked. Some of the costumes, I think some of Redford's costumes were a little like that red and yellow or red and blue
The
pinstripe
pinstripe one?
suit that he wears.
The one that he gets as soon as he gets
Yeah, as soon as he spends his
gets
money on that
$6,000
suit.
or whatever it was.
That was a little flashy, and I didn't know if that was like a 70s influence or if that was a legit outfit from back then, and he wore it a lot, but he looked good in it, and he was so skinny. And you can't put a man that skinny into, that's why he looks so tall. But you can't put a man that skinny in pinstripes without their waist being sucked in completely and then their height being exaggerated, because the entire film I was like, fuck, Robert Redford is tall. And then I googled it, he's only 5'10". Caveman, he's shorter than you.
Yeah.
And
It's weird to think of.
And he's like the tallest guy in the movie.
So many actors that I grew up with who always appear tall. I mean, that's that's movie magic, and
How can you do
that's
such
the way
great
they've
stunts with such little feet?
Little feet. But that's the thing. You can make a 4-foot man look like he's 8 feet tall.
Tom Cruise.
And exactly. And then when you think about that man standing next to you, how they, and knowing that Robert Redford standing next to me would be looking up at me, is really weird to think about.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny too. If you ever see pictures of RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. on the set of especially the later Avengers movies, the heels, the legit heels that they put him in to make Iron Man as tall as like Captain America and the rest of the Avengers, they're some thick ass. Like, first of all, the platform itself is a good 2-3 inches, and then the heel itself is another like 4 inches, and he's just waltzing around in them like it's no big deal because he's Robert Downey Jr. and fuck is he great. But like the movie magic that they do to make small leading actors look taller is one of my favorite behind the scenes movie tricks. It's like, here, Tom Cruise, stand on this apple box so that you're taller than Nicole Kidman. We all know you're not.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're gonna make it look like you are.
It is. I mean, I always knew Robert Downey Jr. was a shorter guy.
Yeah.
But I know when you wanted him to stand next to Chris Evans, who was over 6 feet tall.
Yeah. You
want them to look similar.
Yeah.
But the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is 5'8", is just a little, like the fact that I'd look down at him as well.
I would look
barely up. Yeah.
Like at 5'8", I'm looking him in the face.
Yeah. He's only 2 inches taller than you. So before we get into actual casting, Jack Nicholson was offered the lead role of Robert Redford's part, and he turned it down, saying, he's like, I have enough business sense to know that The Sting is going to be a huge hit. But at the same time, he wanted to do Chinatown and The Last Detail, which seemed like more interesting films for him as an actor.
And
he
Chinatown was a huge movie for him.
Chinatown was a huge movie for him, and The Last Detail, as I said, got him an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah. Sometimes something great comes your way, but it's not meant for you.
Yeah, I'm glad, because it is interesting that he was offered the lead role when the same director from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was coming in to do this film, and I don't know when. Maybe that was it. Maybe he was attached to it first as the director, and then.
Well, I mean, yeah, who knows?
As soon as they start getting some actors in, as far as like they didn't go into this planning on this being the next.
Well, Robert Redford also turned down the role originally, and then redecided on taking it. So like it's,
I'm just saying they didn't start this movie as being the next.
Yeah. Butch Cassidy and
Sundance Kid. Paul Newman was smart enough to he signed on to the film even though he wasn't the lead role. He got top billing, and he also got $500,000 for doing the movie. But then he was also smart enough, or his agent was smart enough, to give him a percentage of the profits.
Nice.
Because this movie made so much money.
I mean, also technically Newman comes before Redford and alphabetically, so why wouldn't he get the top billing?
Well, they don't always do it by alphabetical.
I know, but at a certain point, it seems like you should. I don't know.
Doesn't always work like that.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I guess
it's
you're
like,
right. Yeah.
My ego's bigger, so I'm going to be on top.
I'm The Rock, and my ego's bigger than yours. I was just happened to be looking at Tumblr about this movie, and unsurprisingly, it is filled with a bunch of people thinking that Paul Newman and Robert Redford's characters are boyfriends. Put any two male characters together, and somebody somewhere out there will be like, I'm writing /fan fiction about them. And I love that about the internet. I truly do. Storm Pilot forever. But, yeah.
So we have Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Bang City.
Everybody should know their movies.
Yes.
They've
done one or two things.
They've done one or two things. I've seen quite a few from both of them. More Robert Redford than Paul Newman.
Same.
I have seen a few Paul Newman movies, but there's still plenty that I would love to watch. One of his last ones, I think, technically, Cars. Technically, Cars was probably the last movie that he was in.
Cars. You know what? Justice for Cars. The original Cars
The original, yeah.
is a great fucking movie.
Absolutely fantastic.
It is a great Pixar film. It's funny. It is heartfelt. It's a tried and true story that's been done to death like every other movie ever. Like, it's sweet. Fucking Bonnie Hunt's perfect in it. It always makes me cry when James Taylor starts singing about cars. Like, it's a great film, and people don't give it the credit it deserves. Now, yes, the sequels were garbage, and I haven't even seen the third one, because... But the second one was atrociously bad. But, like, the first one's great. And, yeah, Paul Newman as a daddy car, I'm here for it.
He was also in Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks.
I remember seeing that once, but not really.
And a very young Tyler Hoechlin, who plays Superman in the Superman and Lois TV show and Supergirl.
Oh, was he the kid?
He's the kid.
Oh, no shit.
He's the kid in that movie.
God damn it.
That movie...
Time hurts.
I mean, that movie is over 20 years old.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'm going through Paul Newman's list of films right now, and I'm like, I have not seen a lot of these.
Paul Newman's?
Yeah.
The other one
a lot I have not seen.
The other one that I want to see that I have watched like a 10-minute clip of, and it looked like a lot of fun, was The Hustler. He plays like a...
It's a pool
movie. Yeah, it's a pool movie, a billiards movie.
Have you seen Cool Hand Luke?
I have not.
I've never seen Cool Hand Luke.
That's another one that I haven't seen.
God damn. Like, yeah, it's funny. I know who Paul Newman is because he's Paul fucking Newman, but I haven't seen... Like, I don't think I've seen 10% of the films he's made.
Most of his movies.
Yeah, that's insane. I probably need to fix that. I knew him mainly because of Newman's Own. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Because I would always see his face on fucking salad dressing bottles growing up. And I knew that he was an actor because even as a young person, I was a pop culturalist. Like, ooh, who's that and why? But I haven't seen so many of his films.
Yeah, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, The Sting, Road to Perdition, and Cars. That might be my list for him. I don't think I never saw The Color of Money.
He's done 85 things as an actor on IMDb.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Wow. Well, all right. Maybe season 2 of this podcast is just Paul Newman films. Actually, maybe season 2 is just the classics that we've never seen.
that we've been missing out on this whole time. I mean, it would be a nice way to finally see them. Yeah. To really force yourself to see them.
Like, sit down and be like, all right, I guess now I have to watch Jaws. Ugh.
I mean, that might be coming out later as a bonus episode for this season. But speaking of Jaws, this movie's got Robert Shaw in it, who plays Lonigan. Nice
segue there, Maggie.
Hey.
Yeah, Doyle Lonigan. I really liked his character. He was such a putz. You knew that he was dangerous and evil, but at the same time I was like, man, this guy doesn't have 2 brain cells to rub together.
That was by the way, that was a real limp that he had because his leg was injured while playing handball right before filming began. And
handball is dangerous.
So the director encouraged him to incorporate it into his character rather than leave the project altogether.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he's an Irish mobster. Why wouldn't he have a limp? A limp makes that character somehow more real because, he's a mobster.
And just like Paul Newman, haven't seen a lot of Robert Shaw movies. It's pretty much this and Jaws, and I'm pretty sure that's it, unless he's done something else that I forgot he was in. And that kind of goes with the rest of the cast. I'm not super... I mean, Robert Earl Jones, who played Luther, is James Earl Jones' dad. We got the Chicago cop.
Yeah, he's very familiar to me. All of these actors are familiar to me in the way that I'm I know that I've seen them in things. Like Ray Walston, who plays the character J.J. Singleton, who doesn't have a lot of lines, but he works a lot with Kid Twist. I the entire movie, I was looking at him and I was like, I know his face. How do I know his face? Because he's Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which was a movie that I saw at way too young of an age. That's a movie you watch as a 15-year-old and no earlier than that because of the themes to it, but I was watching it at like 8 and 9. But it is a great fucking film. Eileen Brennan, I knew from just being a character actress in a handful of things. Even Harold Gould, who plays Kid Twist, who actually was my favorite character because I loved his mustache. He too was in just a bunch of like random things over the years, like the Golden Girls and other stuff that you see him in. You're like, oh, I recognize his face. It was nice because it gave the movie, again, a more lived-in feel, right? Like, it was fun watching all of these great character actors just disappear into the movie and do what they do. All the while, Robert Redford's the hottest man since sliced bread, and Paul Newman is bringing up the rear as second hottest man. Yeah, like, it's a really good cast. Eileen Brennan, who plays Billy, she's sort of the main femme fatale. She's one of the 2 women in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
3 if you count that skinny-ass stripper that Robert Redford was dating at the beginning of the movie.
That's right.
Who had nothing to shake. Like, she was up there shaking nothing.
You know what? I don't think back in the 30s that was an issue.
No, I know. They were just excited to see belly button and underboob, but still, I was just like, God damn. But anyways, Eileen Brennan, all I could see when I saw her was my mom's mom, my Mamu, because my Mamu also had a very square face. And by that, I mean, like, if you saw pictures of my Mamu, her head is legitimately a square. It is a cube. Eileen Brennan had that look too, very kind of flat face, very angular jaw. Not unattractive by any means. Just if you were to associate a shape with her face, it is square. And so every time I saw her, I was like, oh, grandma. For my thoughts about her. I liked her character a whole lot. She was ballsy, and I'm glad that, she was just there to be fucking kind of badass and take no shit from anybody, and I loved that.
The Chicago cop, Lieutenant Snyder, was played by Charles Durning, and the reason he looks familiar is because, first of all, he was in Dog Day Afternoon.
Never seen it.
He was in O Brother Where Art Thou as Papio Daniel. And he was also Doc Hopper in the Muppet movie, which I know him a lot from.
Oh, Brother Where Art Thou is a great fucking film. I love that movie so much. So let's get into it. The plot of The Sting is about, we've already mentioned it's a couple of con men conning a big time gambler and crook because he killed the wrong guy, and it's really fun watching them come together. Much like Ocean's 11, you watch the group come together, you watch the plan unfold, you watch the plan potentially go wrong, and then revealed that it was the plan the whole time. I did write down, I wondered how many double and triple crosses there would be. There weren't as many as I thought, in all actuality. I will say one thing about this movie. Well, I've said a few things, but in terms of criticism, I feel like the ending is so abrupt that it was anticlimactic.
It happens real fast. Everything wraps up very quickly.
And then the movie is done.
It's just done. Whereas
I would have liked to see what happened. A 6-month later montage of just where everybody is, right?
I think that's what the 2000...
done
10 years.
A remake. What?
Oh, I was thinking of the 2001 Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
How after you see them get the money and get away with it, you get to spend some time with people's reactions to them getting away with it. Whether it's Julia Roberts' character reacting to Danny Ocean getting away with it, or if it's Andy Garcia's character realizing that he was hoodwinked.
Yeah.
And then you get that nice ending with them in front of the Bellagio.
Yeah, that is great.
And Claire de Lune playing, and then Danny's gets out of prison, and it allows you to enjoy
a little bit more time with these characters.
Whereas this one and the original Ocean's 11, they get away with it, but then they immediately get caught, and it's essentially what happens on Ocean's 11. What happens in Ocean's 12 is the ending of Ocean's 11. the original one.
There is I don't know how this is on IMDb, but there is something called the Sting Remake Cast. It was created 10 years ago. I think it literally is just like a message board or something. But they put Ryan Gosling as Johnny Hooker, Lawrence Fishburne as Luther Coleman, and Josh Brolin as Doyle Lonigan. And Bradley Cooper would play Henry Gandorf. Now, I have thoughts about a remake of this film, but we won't get to that until the end of this podcast.
I'm sure you've thought about the casting already.
I have, because I have to. Every single movie that we watch, I have to think about a specific type of casting.
Did you figure out more?
Yes. Yeah, I did the big four.
Actor?
Yeah. I recast the big four. If they were going to remake this movie, I have thought about that cast. I'm just sort of shocked, again, that it hasn't been done. I mean, reboots, remakes, and sequels is all Hollywood does anymore. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, mind you, because I thoroughly enjoy a lot of what Hollywood shits out to us. You know, I'm a film-going fan. I enjoy things. I don't just rage against their existence like the rest of the world. I'm just shocked that some of these movies have never been, not even like a fucking HBO miniseries in the 90s. Like, how is this particular story untouchable by, you know, the remake machine, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it just seems...
Give them time.
Give them time, yeah.
One part that made me laugh, and I was wondering if they stole it when they made Lethal Weapon, but Luther has a line where he's like, I'm getting too old for this racket.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
You know what I really liked about this film? How much of Robert Redford's chest hair you got to see. Like, it's a lot. That man had a thicket of chest hair, and they showed it off amply, and I was just always like, damn.
There was a generation of men who just had, especially actors, because now it feel like it's more...
Well,
instead of being natural man, where it's like, it's not like Robert Redford was like cut.
No.
You know, now it's like bare-chested, waxed, and cut.
They get waxed a lot for films. Like Sebastian Stan, when you see him as the Winter Soldier with his shirt off, is not that hairless in real life. Did they do that because his hair pattern is a little I think they do it
awkward?
I don't know if that's the reason, or if they just want to show off the physique. I don't know if that's modern day beauty standards for men. You know, the way that women are supposed to be hairless from, you know, the eyebrows down, basically. I guess from the nose down, you want to have them to have eyebrows, but I'm just saying, like, women are supposed to be hairless everywhere except for their eyebrows and their head. And maybe it goes the same for men. I don't know. I kind of like them hairy, not like Robin Williams hairy, where you could get lost in the jungle that was that man's back hair.
Just his arm hair alone.
Yeah, but just see him with his face in his
elbow in the HBO special. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Oh boy,
we don't have to tell the joke here. If you know, you know.
I just know that, especially when it comes to like the Marvel movies, Marvel likes them hairless. So yeah, they make these actors wax a lot, which is unfortunate because I do like a nice little splattering of good old chest hair. But yeah, no, there was just lots of scenes where you're like looking down at Robert Redford from the camera angle, and it's like shooting right into his open buttoned up shirt, and you're like, golden chest hair.
There's a lot of really great camera angles in this movie. Yeah, not just of men's chest hair.
Only of men's chest hair.
One thing that I did not do any research on, and maybe you did. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if the close up card tricks, the sleight of hand that you see these two hands doing, because when you see it, you know Paul Newman's character is the one holding the cards, and there's a cut that shows you an up close shot of his hands, and he's doing the card work, and it's some really, really quick sleight of hand that you know would take a while to learn. And he's doing all these different tricks and really having fun with these cards. And I just thought it was just kind of like a sleight of hand magician doing this work. But then as soon as he's done doing everything, I didn't see a cut unless 1973. I don't know how good they were at hitting cuts like that, but man, the camera, after he's done doing all the tricks, the camera pans right up to his face.
Technical advisor John Scarn, Scarne, Scarn, handled the card manipulations and deck switching in the film on behalf of Paul Newman. Scarn's hands disappear off screen, then there's an invisible cut to hide the switch. Newman's hands return, and the camera pans up to his face. So there's just a really
Beautiful.
Really,
I love
that edit alone got them the Oscar for best editing.
Good job editing. Yeah, well, everything else was like flip transitions.
Yes, but that was a really good, because like you know that. I mean, I guess Paul Newman could have learned how to do that in his past life and doing whatever. But
I'm not saying an actor can't learn how to do some of this stuff.
But that was some pretty good card work.
It was really good card work, and so when it pans up and you see it's Newman,
else that
you're just like, damn, that's...
I appreciate about this film is because it was made in 1973. It was made before, any special effects, any CG, of course. There was...
Well, any computer effects.
There's
been special effects in film since the beginning of film.
I'm just special effects.
Saying.
Well, actually...
Let me push my glasses up.
You nerd. The use of matte painting, the use of real sets, the use of the costumes, the editing, just all of it was, like I said, I've said previously, this movie is so beautifully lived in, and it's so realized because of that. And I think that a remake would lean heavily into some special effects, but special computer effects, I should say. But it was neat that that's how they did it, right? That John Scarn just did this, they had this particular edit and they cut it in beautifully, and this guy did all that stuff by hand, and it makes it seem like it's Paul Newman. The fact that it doesn't cut from the hands to Paul Newman, it pans up. That sells that scene. It sells that character and his majesty over the cards. And that's beautiful, as opposed to just cutting to, hands doing a thing and then just cutting back to the actor. The fact that it pans up gives a bit more realism. And, they had to figure out how to do that, right? The director had an idea for that scene, and they had to make it work, and they made it work
beautifully.
Yeah.
I love it.
Apparently, Paul Newman had been long advised to avoid doing comedy films because he didn't have the light touch needed to play comedy, and that's why he wanted to play this role to prove that he could play comedy as well as drama. I don't consider this movie much of a comedy.
Yeah.
But his character is a little bit lighthearted.
There's some humor happening on screen. Man, 70s humor must have just been so bad if this is a comedy.
Yeah, well... sometimes films don't get categorized the way they should, but...
I just looked up... We had talked about this before, I forget in which episode, but Robert Redford, he went up against another director that we were talking about in another movie recently. I just can't remember which movie that was. And he won Best Director for Ordinary People. So he won for director. So he does have an honorary award from the Academy, but he also won an Oscar for Best Director in Ordinary People. He was also nominated for Best Director in Quiz Show, which I did not know he directed Quiz Show.
I remember seeing Quiz Show once, I think when it came out on VHS. I haven't seen that movie in forever. John Turturro, correct?
John Turturro and Ray Fiennes, Hank Azaria.
Oh.
Love Quiz Show. I think Quiz Show, nobody talks about Quiz Show. But,
Robert Redford has a BAFTA for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Oh, good for him.
He's got a couple Golden Globes, 3 to be exact. Screen Actor Guild Life Achievement Award, Directors Guild Awards, New York's Film Critic, blah blah blah. But how has that man not gotten more
for acting?
Yeah, just for anything. Especially for acting. He's one of America's best actors, they say. But then, the Oscars are...
You don't always have to... Just because you don't win an Oscar doesn't mean you're not a good actor.
That is true. I mean, Oscar Isaac doesn't have an Oscar. He will one day.
Oscar won an Oscar?
There is a statistic that I knew once, but can't remember off the top of my head right now, about how long it's been since a man named Oscar has won an Oscar, but it's been since the 70s, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Of course you looked that up.
I didn't look it up. It was something that came across my feed at some point.
So, since this was your first time watching, I was curious, did you catch on to the FBI guys being in on it?
I didn't immediately, but I did have that kind of, I don't know. It felt, because I wrote down oh damn, the feds are involved now, which would make sense because, gangsters, 1930s, blah, 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 blah. But the fact that they just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and then when they put the screws on Robert Redford's character, and they're like, you're going to turn in your pal, you're going to turn in Paul Newman, and then you can get away scot-free, and then, and then it was when he started to sell to, when the FBI agent started to sell the wife, Luther's wife, and be like, oh, well, she's got enough to put her away, and blah, 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 blah. There's something in that I was like, all right. I don't know. Like, I had an inkling that there was going to be a double cross. Like, I knew it. I had even said to you how many double cross, triple crosses are we getting?
Right.
So, like, I had an inkling, but I wasn't immediately on to it. Like, it wasn't like as soon as I saw it, I was like, fake,
Right. Well, they sold it really well.
They sold it really well.
Because they were trying to convince the Chicago cop.
Yeah, they were trying to convince the cop to. And
then later, you find out that they're going to be storming the sting, and or raiding in the middle of their sting, and they knew that it was a sting.
Why wouldn't they go after? The other thing too is I was like, why wouldn't they go after the mobster? They didn't care who the hook was, right? They didn't care who the victim of this con was going to be.
Maybe they had no evidence against him.
I don't know. Back in the 30s, did the FBI really need evidence? Yes. At least arrest somebody. I'm just saying.
We still had very similar laws that we do now.
Yeah, but there's real life and then there's Hollywood rules, right? But so there was something about it that made me just feel kind of weird about it. I will say that Robert Redford definitely sold the guilt of not wanting to betray Paul Newman.
He did, and even the scene after he says he's going to do it.
Yeah, when they're playing cribbage.
And he's like, what, something wrong over there? And he's just nervous about the sting itself, the day.
I would say that one of my favorite parts of that film, and I actually wrote it down, was the night before and the morning of. I loved watching all the characters interact the night, just go through knowing that this is taking place tomorrow, this big thing that they've been building towards, right? This dangerous project that they're going to be working on is happening tomorrow morning. So I enjoyed Redford's. I didn't 100% buy that the woman was the assassin.
That came out of nowhere.
Was she the one then that murdered that guy on the street that was trying to kill him?
No, I think... Or
was that the bodyguard?
That was the bodyguard who was keeping tabs on, or at least watching...
Who was keeping him safe.
Yeah, keeping Robert Redford safe.
Because
that guy was chasing him, so why would she try to kill the guy who was trying to kill him?
And why wouldn't she have used any opportunity otherwise to kill him?
Well, like he said, just had to get him...
Alone? But she had,
But not in her own apartment.
Or in the place that she's pretending to be working. Yeah, they didn't want to know. I guess people, if he had been killed in the cafe, and she was the only other person there, they would have asked questions as to why she was there, and what her involvement was. So, I get it on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was sort of like... It
was such an out of left field twist.
Also, I found it very funny when she got shot in the head, the way they edited it, where there was just, a red dot, meant to be blood.
It looked like jelly. They just put a smudge of jelly on her forehead real quick.
And then she just she dropped. And I genuinely thought in that moment that he had killed an innocent woman and then made it look like she was the assassin so that he could get Robert Redford somewhere else and kill him then. But then again, it's like, well, wait, that part I wish had been fleshed out a little bit more. I do find it funny that studio execs were like, this woman, what's her name?
She is Dimitra Arliss.
Yes, this woman, Dimitra Arliss, in no way was hot enough to get Robert Redford.
Oh, she's fine.
She's a gorgeous woman, don't get me wrong, but the studio execs were like, we're not buying this. Right? Like, it's Robert Redford and it's her. Like, we're not buying this. And the director kind of fought for her because he thought she was best for the role, which is great. If this movie were remade, that would be like the Sydney Sweeney or the fucking Zendaya. You know, they would have made it a hotter actress to go up against whatever hot man they got to play Hooker. But I kind of liked that she was kind of plain and dowdy. And I liked that Robert Redford's character, that Hooker, was just connected. He felt a connection to her and couldn't really explain it. But I liked that he was like, I don't want to be alone right now. And even though he stalked her out of her job at 2 a.m. and up to her apartment at 2 a.m, he doesn't know her name, but he still stalks her up there, that she had and she was supposed to murder him. She still had the, wherewithal to be like, yeah, I'm going to hit that. And you know what? Good for her.
Fun fact, she played the voice of the onboard computer for Tony Stark's Iron Man suit in the 1990s Iron Man TV show.
There was a 1990s Iron Man TV show?
There was.
And she was Jarvis?
Well, she wasn't Jarvis.
But she was
the
Jarvis,
computer.
yeah.
And she also played Mrs. Stark.
There was a 1990s Iron Man TV show?
There was.
Who played Iron Man?
Robert Hayes. That's funny.
Does this exist and can we watch it somewhere?
Jim Cummings played MODOK.
Jim Cummings played... Wait.
Yeah, Jim Cummings of Optimus Prime
fucking
fame.
And Winnie the Pooh too, right?
Yes?
Yeah. Jim Cummings is Winnie the Pooh.
I think a few people have played Winnie the Pooh, but only 26 episodes, so it wasn't as thick as Superman, Batman, and stuff like that, but still.
Crazy. I mean, good for her for getting a young Robert Redford. I'm just saying that, in the remake, that would be played by...
I think it's funny that
hotter
Robert Hayes plays Tony Stark.
Oh, well, this was a cartoon.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was a live-action thing.
Oh, no, it's animated.
Hawkeye, Rhodey, the Mandarin, fucking the Scarlet Witch. Oh, my God, Justin Hammer? Wait a minute. I need to watch this. James Avery is the War Machine? Come on. A white guy is Nick Fury? That's weird. I know it's not weird. I know the history of Nick
That's
Fury,
how they originally made it. There's a guy named David Hasselhoff, I believe, who played Nick Fury.
Hasselhoff? What else has he done? Yeah, I remember this show. No, I was thinking, for some reason in my head, I thought it was a live action thing. And I was like, how did I not know about this?
Oh.
But
no, it's animated.
Yeah. I enjoyed watching The Sting. Thank you very much for sharing it with me. I know that this movie means a lot more to you than it does to me, but
I grew up with it.
Yeah, it's sort of in the way that it's a mad, 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 mad world means more to me than it does
That's a genius movie.
It is a fucking genius movie. And I would love to do an episode on it, but I don't know if... I love our fan base, and a lot of our fan base we know personally because they're our family and friends and people that we've gotten to know a little bit through it. Shout out, hey Dustin, we love you, man. Thanks for being our fan. We do have listeners around the world that we are not aware of because we've seen the map on our little podcast application thing. So all this to say, I know that we have a lot of listeners around the world and we appreciate and love every single one of you. I don't know how much of those listeners know about Hollywood history enough to find It's a Mad, 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 Mad World as funny as I do. Does that make sense? All the little niche cameos, all the fun little things, just all of...
I don't think you need to know
but
all that
and also,
to
that's not
appreciate
a movie that...
it. Even I don't know every single little...
Cameo,
I've
talked you through
their importance in Hollywood.
But I just don't know how much people are going to find it funny hearing me cry with laughter over the gas station getting destroyed or the giant W palm trees. There's just cameo. See, it's already happening. I'm just saying that, I would love to do a bonus episode on It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. I just don't know how many of our fans have watched that movie and or would care.
I mean, I
Right.
have no idea how many people would be interested in The Sting.
That's
but
true. I don't.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
We're also going to do later on down the road, actually not too far down the road, we're going to be doing Some Like It Hot.
Oh yeah, but Some Like It Hot's a fucking flawless movie.
It's just
But
like how many, like if you,
I feel like more people have
I don't
seen
think you
Some
have
Like
to,
It Hot than
I don't
they've
think
seen
you have
It's
to
a Mad,
worry
Mad,
about
Mad
how many
World.
people are going to be interested in a movie we're talking about.
That's true, and then who knows? Maybe somebody somewhere is going to just type The Sting into their, into their podcast app, and hit search, and ours is going to pop up bonus episode, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to listen to it," and then we got a listener. But
There you go. That's all it takes.
yeah, that's all it takes. But I just, there are certain movies that I don't know what the audience is for a reaction to it, and like. You love this film, and I'm glad that we got to do it, and I'm glad that you got to show it to me, but I can't think of an old movie that we could watch that you've never seen that I could show to you that we could then do a podcast on. Maybe The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, which is one of my favorite romantic films of all time.
I think there's some movies that I think you probably like more than me that I've seen, yes. But, for instance, another podcast was just talking about it with... Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, Let It Ride?
Let It Ride.
Oh, man, I would love to do an episode on Let It Ride, but the problem with Let It Ride is that only 6 people have ever seen it.
See? That's our job, is to introduce people to movies they haven't seen.
Yeah.
And so that they
Let
are
It
like,
Ride is a great...
I wonder what this movie's about. I think I'll watch it.
I mean, outside of my family and the people that we have made watch this movie, and Ralph Garman and the people that he has made watch this movie, I'm pretty sure that roughly 30 people on Earth have seen the movie Let It Ride.
No.
And that, but that movie is so... another movie about horse racing. Bringing it back to that.
Another horse racing
In fact,
film.
that movie is why I like horse racing, because I watched it as a young kid, and I was like, wow, you can bet on the ponies? And I've won like $5 off of them, and that's cool. But yeah, The Sting... I thought it was great. Do you want to get into
Let's get into
ratings?
reviews. You go first, since I have no
I would give this movie a 4. Part of me, no, I can't give it a 3.5 because of the sort of fact that it's a classic and it's beloved. But the sound design really did kind of kill this movie for me a little bit. Like just a dripping wet Paul Newman in a bathtub.
Maybe that's why it's not a 4.5.
Well, maybe so. As much as I loved seeing a dripping wet young Paul Newman in a bathtub, wishing that I could just eat that mustache right off his face. The fact that all I could hear was the sound of the dripping from his clothes. I was just like, that's so weird. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's definitely worth a watch if you've never seen it. It is long. And it feels long. And it's not even like, it's not a long movie. Like, Dune is a longer movie, but Dune goes by quicker than this one. Just because it's like, so many shots of just people walking. Just long fucking shots of walking. And it was a choice. Like I said, it's not necessarily a choice that I agree with, but if all I can say about this film is that the sound design was weird, and some of the long takes were also a little weird, that's not bad. The cast is great. The story's a lot of fun. The music's strange. But yeah, it's a fun film. Thank you for introducing it to me. I give it a 4. What about you, babe?
I also give it a 4.
Which I'm kind of shocked by. Because you love this film, why wouldn't it be higher?
I think a 4 is very high.
But a 4.5 is higher.
You're right. So is a 5.
Yeah, true.
But...
And that elusive 6.
No, but you bring up good points. Sound. There are movies that came out even before this in the 60s that have better sound, in my opinion. Not to compare The Sting with 2001: Space Odyssey, because they're completely different movies.
I'd much rather watch The Sting, though.
I know you would, but 2001: Space Odyssey has great sound. And they also have music that was not original, that they play over and over. So I almost feel sometimes like they were trying to give this movie a little more realistic sound outside, not on a set.
Yeah, there's a lot of ambient noise.
There is, but I think it could have been done better. Same thing with the music. Could have been done a little better. The ending, like you said, is very instant and
It would have been nice to have
all of a
bit
sudden,
more,
all of a sudden, you're getting that little
the pinpoint
closing.
Yeah.
Shot
I will say, too,
ending the whole movie.
the way that this movie starts with the credits at the beginning where it shows the actor playing the character and what that character's name was weird to see that at the beginning of the movie. And I immediately forgot who all of those people
and you're
were.
showing scenes of the movie before you've even seen the movie.
Yeah. So you're like,
it
wait a minute.
would have been better to have that at the end.
Yeah, that was a weird choice, too.
But yes, I really do like this movie. It's one of the older films that, like, I don't own a lot of really old films. And I know this is 1970s, and 1970s is not really old. And, you know, I do like movies from the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I mean,
I just
fucking The Thin Man, some like it hot. Like, there are some great older films out there. And the fact that they are older films...
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, fucking Arsenic and Old Lace is such a great fucking Cary Grant in that movie.
I love Cary Grant. I've seen so many Cary Grant. I've seen more Cary Grant movies, I think, than I've seen Robert Redford movies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I will die on the hill of An Affair to Remember being one of the greatest romantic films of all time. That movie devastates me.
I think all other romantic...
And Roman Holiday...
I think all other romantic films came after it
Gregory
were just
Peck
copying
was so
it.
hot in Roman Holiday.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Roman Holiday is another movie
Gregory
that...
Peck is another actor that I've seen a lot of.
Because obviously we were film fans, and we wouldn't be if we weren't doing this.
I hate movies, but let's keep doing this podcast.
If you are a movie fan out there and you haven't seen a lot of the like older classics, like, and the only thing that's stopping you is just the fact that they're old, like, you're missing out on a lot of great fucking... And maybe that is what season 2 of this podcast is us watching films that are at least 40 years old. Watching Arsenic and Old Lace and trying to get people to enjoy it. Watching, you know, these films that are underrated now because of their age, when they're still great stories and really fun and really terrifying or thrilling or funny or whatever. You know, like I said, An Affair to Remember is one of the greatest romantic movies of all time. It's in my top 5, if not my top 3.
Well, like I said, I think that movie built the blueprint as far as all the romantic comedies, not romantic comedies, but just romantic movie in general. I think it
helped, but it wasn't the only one.
It wasn't the only one, but I think a lot of modern romantic movies take a lot from
the classics.
The classics like that one, for sure.
So, you know, go watch an old movie is what we're saying. Turn classic movies and maybe get out of something that's on, you know, I think they played movies from the 90s
I think
now.
Turner Classic Movies, there's a large selection on Max.
Yeah, let's go check it out. Maybe Roman Holiday's on there.
All right, let's go.
Gregory Peck.
So, Maggie.
Yes, Caveman.
I have 2 questions for you.
Hit me.
Well, I could say we should talk about this when you're less angry, but that would be... When would that be?
Fuck you.
Is that from Inside Llewyn Davis?
It is from Inside Llewyn Davis. Good job.
I fucking love that movie. He's such an asshole in that movie. Play it again.
Well, I could say we should talk about this when you're less angry, but that would be... When would that be?
Fuck you.
Carey Mulligan is great in that film. I love you so much, Oscar Isaac.
I mean, just watching that clip unfold, because it was the entire scene, I was just like, holy shit, Carey Mulligan.
Oh, yeah, no.
Great.
When was the last time you watched that movie? We should watch that.
It was when I watched it with you.
Oh, God. I have the Criterion Collection Blu-ray somewhere. I know I do. And it comes with a concert of all the music they use in the film. Anyways, great film.
Yeah. All right. So, Maggie.
Ask me the question.
First question. Would this movie have been better if Oscar Isaac was in it? Granted, he would have been a child, but let's say he is whatever age of Oscar Isaac you want him to be, that's what he is in this movie.
I'm going to say no. I don't think that this movie, the 1973 version of The Sting would have been better with Oscar Isaac in it. It would have been distracting because, like, I don't think I could handle the trifecta that is Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Oscar Isaac together. That would have made me explode with horniness. Yeah, in general, I don't think you could have improved upon this movie outside of, like, sound design and music and editing. So, no, I don't think that he would have been good in it.
So, second question.
Yes.
Which character would you have had him play?
Excellent. Let's get into my thoughts about the remake.
Boy.
Okay, so they remake this movie today,
We're
right?
remaking it, yeah.
We're remaking it today. It's the same script, more or less, same premise. They flesh out the characters a little bit more. It's a teensy bit longer because of character development, but not just because of more long shots of people walking. I think you get Glenn Powell to play Hooker because he's the it man right now. He's young, he's charming, he's blonde, he's got that smile that could light up a room. Would have been perfect with it, right? But then I was like, okay, so who do you get to play Paul Newman's character? Who do you get to play Gandorf? Which, by the way, is too close to Gandalf, and that is another reason why this movie deserves 4 stars. Gandorf and Gandalf, too similar, kept making me confused. But that being said, at first I wrote down Pedro Pascal, because, like, hot, right? But then I was like, I don't know. I feel like it needs to be somebody who's older, but still has that Paul Newman-esque charm, and that's why I settled on Tom Cruise. And also, because Tom Cruise and Glenn Powell have worked together in a couple movies, and they have great chemistry together. And so I think it would be fun to see, see Tom Cruise play that sort of, like, disgruntled disgruntled older con man who just wants to get out, but needs this final score, right? With all the card tricks that you know he would learn how to fucking do, because that's what Tom Cruise is. And I'm not the man's biggest fan, but I think he would have done really good in that role. You put Oscar Isaac in as Kid Twist because of the mustache alone, and also because, like, as much as I would love to see Oscar as the main character, I think that he would have been better as the third member, right? The money guy, the guy that's putting everything together. I had the most fun with Kid Twist. He was my favorite character in the film. Every time he was on screen, I was like, I just love him. Like, adored him. That would have been Oscar Isaac. And then for Lonigan, the Irish bad guy, you have to get Liam Neeson's. Like,
love me some Liam Neeson's.
Who else but Liam Neeson's could have done it could do that role. Like, yeah, you could get, like, Colm O'Neill from Our Flag Means Death, or, Brandon Gleeson would be fun too, as a much older sort of mobster. It would still be set in the 30s, of course. But just, like, seeing, like, Liam Neeson's go up against Glenn Powell, up against, Oscar Isaac, up against Tom Cruise, would just make me really happy. So that's my top 4 casting for the recasting of this movie with Oscar Isaac in it. Again, you would get your Sydney Sweeney's, your Zendayas, your young, beautiful actresses to play the assassin / love interest for Robert Redford. That story would have been fleshed out a lot more. You would have gotten some great character actors to be all the other people. The cop could have been somebody great, like Bradley Whitford. No reason why he couldn't have been the scummy cop. I don't know who would have played Billy, the love interest of Paul Newman's character. Probably like Rebecca Ferguson or something, which would be great.
Ooh, that's actually not a bad choice.
Right. Oscar definitely would have been Kid Twist, because that was the character that I was like, that's the one that he would fit into perfectly. And he would have done a great job. And I would watch that movie. And people would say it was unnecessary, but I still think it would do a lot of money. Because you put Tom Cruise in anything, it's going to do a lot of fucking money. So, even with his weird middle tooth. And that has been this month's bonus episode of Movie Mingle on The Sting. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Coming up next is Glass Onion, which I'm really excited to watch again. And a lot of more fun things to come as we round out the end of 2024. You can always reach us at movieminglepod@gmail.com. You can find us on Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd at movieminglepod. And you can find us on YouTube at movieminglepodcast. Please feel free to rate and review us on your podcast platform of choice. We would love to know what you think about our silly little show, and we're just so glad that you're along for the ride. We love you very much, and we thank you deeply for taking part in this journey with us. Until next week, Just go out. Please take good care of yourselves in this crazy fucking world of ours. Go find your own Bang City and go mingle. Bye.
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we ruled by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. What is that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.